I'm Josh Duty from FearlessSalaryNegotiation.com, here to tell you how software developers can use positioning to differentiate themselves from other similarly qualified software developers and get more job offers. As a hiring manager, I interviewed scores of people, and there were certain things that candidates could do to stand out from other candidates and significantly increase the chances that I would offer them a job. In this real-life case study with Eric Normand of PurelyFunctional.tv, we'll show you how this software developer can use simple research and positioning to differentiate himself from other similarly qualified candidates and significantly increase his chances of getting this job offer for a functional programming job at a small software company. We started kind of zoomed out at the level of how do I make my resume attractive to companies who are hiring for functional programmers. In this case, Michael also told us that he's applying to a specific job, and we took a look at that job description earlier, so let's jump back there really quickly. You kind of reviewed it earlier. It's a pretty, I don't want to say generic, but it's a common sort of looking job description. Nothing jumps out here to me as really exceptional or kind of out there, right? And so
Right.
also the challenge is kind of matching a person who has a general skill set or even some specific functional experience, but ultimately to say, hey, not only does my resume demonstrate that I can do this job, but I'm the right person to do this job. And I think this is where a
Mhm.
lot of developers struggle. I recently just had a coaching client hire me specifically to help him with positioning because he was getting lots of interviews but wasn't getting callbacks and job offers. And he knows that he can do those jobs, but he's not getting callbacks and he didn't know why. And so we walked through, okay, well, let's talk about how you're positioning yourself to be a good asset for these companies. So what I advocate is that you learn as much as you can about the company, and that my whole interview strategy is that you're trying to tell a story about how the company will be better if you're a part of it. And so that's very kind of pie in the sky, really high level. So we're gonna look at some pretty heavy tactics here, but that's the strategy: is tell a story about how the company will be better if you're a part of it. And so you do that by gathering information, learning as much as you can about the company, and then giving what I call you-focused answers, which anybody who's listening or watching and they have copywriting experience, they might have experience with that you-focused idea, which is instead of talking about yourself, I did this and I did that and I do these things, I have these skills, you talk about you. You're trying to accomplish this. I will help you to accomplish that by. So you're
Uh-huh.
you-focused. What are their needs? So we had Michael do some research for us here. And my guess is that he spent 15 to 20 minutes on this. It's not an onerous amount of work to get this information. But we're going to kind of go down and just see what we can learn about this company. And then we'll talk about how Michael can position himself as a functional programmer to add value to this company. And so the whole goal here is, let's assume that there are multiple people applying for this job. Multiple people have some functional programming experience, and they're trying to turn that experience into a job. Their resumes might look pretty similar. In Michael's case, his resume is very strong in terms of work experience and technical expertise.
Mhm.
But he might be up against other people who have similar experience. And so the question is, how does he stand out and say, yes, 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 we all have that experience, but I'm the person that you should hire here? So let's walk through what we know about this company. This company is called Simply Credit. We have some URLs that we'll look at here in a minute. And their mission statement is to redefine customer lending to be fair and transparent. So you right away get an idea that, at least in the mission statement, this company is very interested in helping consumers. They're consumer focused. They want to help,
Right.
which I think would be kind of a counterweight to sort of the idea of like the greedy capitalist credit card companies. If I had to guess,
Uh-huh.
I don't want to speak for them.
Uh-huh.
Goals and pain points. He did a great job here. So they're trying to architect the back end to allow for sophisticated deployment. Trying to design and build data warehouse infrastructure. So they have a lot of technical, very heavy technical challenges is what I'm seeing here. Um, I don't see, for example, that they're trying to grow the business through sales. They're not trying to expand marketing. All I see is technical challenges. And we know that they're only hiring for this one job. There are no other job openings. And so they're hiring a functional programming engineer. All of their goals and pain points appear to be technical in nature. So this is a company that appears to be head down. They just raised money. They raised $1.5 million here. So this is probably a company that's head down trying to create a product in an R&D type of mode, trying to get to
Mhm.
market with a good product. Do you have anything to add there before we kind of go on? Do you see anything that jumps out here in our research that we did?
No, this looks great.
Okay. Good. So they're a 1 to 10 person company. Again, everything that I'm reading here tells me this is a small company. They're focused on helping consumers. They're probably in a product development and R&D mode. They just raised a round, and they're trying to get to market with a product or trying to enhance their product so that it is, best in class or good enough to start really drawing in customers. And maybe the next phase of their business will be sales and marketing, trying to grow their business, trying to reach consumers. But for now, it seems like they're focused on product. And so obviously, if we step back, a functional programmer is a huge asset for this company. It may be the only asset they need right now. And so being able to tie that together with Michael's experience, I think would be a huge win for him to say, I'm not just a developer. Look, I know that you're trying to appeal to consumers. I know you're trying to build a good product for them. And I can help you do that because I've got 15 years of experience writing software as a lead, as a QA person. I'll help you write a good product. I'll help you build a good product. We're going to get to market quickly, but on solid ground. We're not going to carry a bunch of nasty technical debt. And we're going to get this thing built right so that when your customers start using it, they're happy with it and they feel safe with this product.
Right. I think that's great. So would you suggest rehearsing that ahead of time, or at least writing it down so that you know sort of all the things you want to cover? Because there's a lot in this mission statement that you could probably relate to already, and either negatively with your previous jobs or positively with your previous jobs, and your experience as someone borrowing. This is a lender.
Yeah, that's right. So yes, I think the first thing to do, just doing this research already, Michael has done this research, he's already in like the top 10% or probably a smaller percent number of everybody who's applying for this job, right?
Wow.
People don't do that. You would be surprised how often people will just cast out their resume to anybody who will accept it. They'll take any interview they get, and they just have interviews lined up on their calendar, and they show up. And I've interviewed people who literally didn't know what company they were interviewing with, right?
Wow.
Or the job, So I usually start my interviews by saying, okay, great. So you're interviewing for a senior developer job. I'll make sure that they know that they're interviewing for this job so that we don't, spend 45 minutes talking about a job that I'm not actually trying to fill or something like that. So
Wow.
having done this research, he already stands out. So doing the research, number one, having this knowledge will enable him to give better answers, right? So really common cliche interview questions like, why should I hire you? Well, if you haven't done this research, the only answer you can really give is you should hire me because you need a developer and I'm a developer, which is just not compelling, right?
Right.
But if you can say, oh, you should hire me because I've got 15 years of technical experience, I can see that your company is laser focused on the product right now. You're looking at all technical things. You're only hiring for this engineering position. I can see that you just raised a round. It feels to me like you're trying to build a superior product to help consumers and protect consumers. I'm interested in helping you with that mission, and I want to help you build a really solid product, right?
Wow, that seems really solid.
But it's all right here, right?
I would be sitting up and listening as a hiring manager, like, okay, you know what we're doing. You've cut out like a whole month of my training that I have to do for you. So, where do I sign up?
Right, which is going to contrast with just a developer who threw his resume out and got a call and put it on his calendar, and now here he is, and he's hoping he gets a developer job, right?
Right.
And all that is, all I'm doing is just skimming. I haven't rehearsed this. I haven't looked at this document before right now, before this call. And so I already have ammo to kind of formulate those answers. And so will Michael, because he's read this stuff. So he knows what their pain points are. He knows what their goals are. And he even took the time down here at the bottom to say what his specific experience is that will help with this, right?
Right.
He's got integrations experience building and refactoring REST APIs. He's got all kinds of experience that he can use to answer their questions and say, I can do these things. I have experience with these things to help your business grow and to help you build a superior product.
Now, just tactically, would you go in there with like a note card or something to remember these things?
So if it depends on where I'm going for the interview. So if it's a physical interview in person, I probably would print this out and I would have it in a notebook. I recommend that you take a notebook and that you take copies of your resume with you to every interview.
Yeah.
For the same reasons I mentioned earlier that a hiring manager might just be skimming your resume, you would be surprised how often the hiring manager will look around his desk and kind of shuffle around papers and say, oh, I thought I had your resume here, but I guess I forgot to get it off the printer, right?
Right.
If you're sitting in an office and say, oh, well, I actually have a copy of it right here, and you hand it over and they go, wow, this person is really prepared for this opportunity. And in that notebook, you might have your notes. You'll have somewhere to take notes yourself. So as they mention things, you can kind of jot them down. I don't know how much you would refer to this in the interview, but it certainly can't hurt to have it with you. If for no other reason, then you can review it before the interview starts, right? So you can spend just 3 or 4 minutes just skimming this information. You're not trying to memorize this verbatim. I think you and I could both kind of close this document and give a pretty good summary of what this company's up to and what they're doing, which immediately separates Michael from the pack.
Right. I'm wondering if, like, during the talk, you might be kind of checking off the things at the bottom, the ways I can help the company right now, and just saying, yeah, we talked about that one. And then you could see, they always give you a prompt, like, is there anything else you'd like me to know about you or something? You might have 1 or 2 things left on that list that you'd like to bring up.
If possible, I would prefer to do that without physically checking it off.
Okay.
I would prefer to have it in your mind.
Okay.
I think, again, preparation is key, and that's kind of the thing that I preach is the more prepared you are, the better you'll do. And so I think it's better to have in your mind, these are the kind of 4 or 5 things that I want to get through. And you'll be surprised how quickly the interview will go. You're not going to get to all of these points in an interview. You're just not.
Right.
But you want to have at least 1 or 2 that you can hit because those 1 or 2 are 1 or 2 more than other people are hitting, right? One thing that's not here that we didn't ask Michael for, so this is on me, is questions that he might ask the person interviewing him if he gets a chance. And so that would actually be, that next section I would like to see on this document is some questions that he has about, what's it like to work with the team? There's only 10 people here, so what is a day in the life of a developer at this company look like? What are your biggest challenges as a team, as a company right now? And just some good questions to have ready because the interview will almost always end with the interviewer saying, okay, well, I think we've covered all the stuff I want to cover. Do you have any questions for me? And you could say, no, we covered everything. Thanks so much. But you could also say, yeah, actually, I was really curious. This is a 10-person company. You guys just raised around. You're really focused on technology. What's it like to work here? Does everybody come into the office together? Do you have people working remotely? Do you use a lot of Slack to do business? Are you in email a lot? Like, what does it look? What's it feel like to work here?
Right.
Which shows that you're thinking not only about I can write code, but what's it like to work with these people? Because that's what they're thinking as well. Once they figure out kind of your technical expertise, they're wondering, it's going to be like to work with Eric every day. What's it going to be like to work with Michael every day?
Wow, this is all very valuable.
Let's do really quickly. I had this up, so we'll just to see if we missed anything here. I don't think we did. So this is the company's website. This is Simply Credit. So this is where Michael got that information. So I think we've already kind of done that. But so this is I want to emphasize this is a real company, a real resume that we're using for a real case study. This is where you can see there's only one job opening here, right? And so through Michael's research, he's got this software engineer. We looked at the job description a moment ago, so we won't go back there. But there's only one job opening. This is a 10-person company. They have 1.5 million in funding, I think is what it said. That tells you a whole lot about this company. This is not Apple, right?
Right.
This isn't.
You're probably going to be interviewed by someone you're going to be working with.
Almost certainly. I mean,
directly.
Yes. I mean, you may be interviewed by the CEO of the company, and you may be working with the CEO day to day. Like you might bump into him in the hallway or her in the hallway all the time.
Right.
That's a much different mindset than when you're going to like a giant, quote unquote megacorp like Apple or Amazon. Those are different interview processes, right? You might go through 2 or 3 pre-screens and a technical interview and all this stuff. Whereas here, you might literally show up for an interview. There could be 2 or 3 people in the conference room. They might ask you to write some stuff on the whiteboard, ask you who your favorite football team is, and then you're out of there 2 or 3 hours later, and they decide whether or not they're going to go with you.
Right.
And then this is the kind of where I think he got some of the information on their about page. For the company. So I just want to emphasize, this is a real company. This is a real case study that we're doing.
Right, and you just read a few pages and you have all you need for this questionnaire you have.
Yeah, so you distill everything you can find on their website, on Google. If they're public, which I don't think this company is, but if they're public, you can look at their financial disclosure statements, their quarterly statements, their annual statements. A lot of times, this is a nice little hack, those annual and quarterly statements will have a paragraph at the beginning that's just a state of the union for the company, what they're up to. And they'll talk about what they're trying to accomplish, and they'll mention what their challenges are right now so that investors are aware of them. And so you can just read, you can literally spend 3 or 4 minutes looking at their financials and say, oh, okay, well, I can see what they're focusing on right now, right? And so Michael did a great job of distilling all that research, which again, he probably spent 10, 15, 20 minutes maybe, and came up with this page that we're looking at here. And now he's got a dossier that he can use to really stand out in the interview from other candidates. And he's going to be much more likely to get a job offer just by knowing this information.